Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode of Avalon Meta Live. You guys know what's happening with the COVID situation? What's the COVID anal swabs the tests that we're talking about? Do you guys know about what space hotels are? Or what about space hurricanes? Did you guys attend the Microsoft Ignite keynote? Did you hear about what happened with Microsoft Mesh and mixed reality meetings? Or how about this? Do you know what's the difference between this book and this book? Well, all of that and more in today's episode of Avalon Meta Live. But first...
Follow your passion might be a perfect question to ask and might have a perfect answer when interpreted right.
Let's start tracking which stocks can actually go up and go down, or which stocks have an advantage with the vaccine coming out.
Why it would have been more expensive to fake a moon landing back in those days. It's quite an interesting video to watch.
The economic activity created from the App Store alone is worth $500 billion.
So let's move on to the next question.
Man, it was too easy.
Too easy, no? Why didn't you answer? Awesome. I think the pre-intro, it got cut a little bit. Martin cut a little too early. But no matter. Today's episode is going to be very different. We saw a different thumbnail. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a story. Okay? You guys are going to be walking with me into a story. It's going to be very informative, a lot of informational pieces. So keep your notes, learn from them. If you're not writing notes, make sure to follow up and read about these things. But first, let's start on slightly a lighter note. Okay, Martin, let's have the first slide. Okay, look at that headline: Butt and run. China makes COVID anal swabs mandatory for all foreign arrivals after Japan and US already blasted the humiliating procedure. So very recently, I saw this Vice article which talked about how US diplomats were being embarrassed, or they were humiliated, because China came up with this test where they asked this, for example, a 5 centimeter long saline soaked swab was inserted into the anal or the anus of US diplomats. And the first China, some doctors in China said that the reason we are doing this is because, see, when you're the viral infection, its duration in say the feces is much longer. So the chances of you detecting the viral infection is much better if you do it if you find it in the feces. That is what the doctor said. Now the Chinese diplomats, they put out the article saying, hey, sorry, that was an error. It was not intentional. And now China has come and said that, okay, after that even Japan complained. Okay, so Japan complained because China was making it mandatory for everyone in Japan to take this, all foreign visitors. Now what they've done is they made it compulsory for everyone. So anyone who's coming foreign arrivals, they have to do this anal procedure, the anal swab procedure. So some doctors are saying, okay, if you don't want the externals to do it, you give us the sample of the feces. Again, I don't know how this is interesting news. It sounded kind of interesting, so that's why we're putting it. One of the things I'm actually talking about this is because, see, a lot of things have been happening with COVID, with space. If you go through the news, so much with politics and all of these things that we have discussed in the past news episodes. And one of the things that I want to tell you guys is, see, I don't want to keep repeating on the same things. That's why we don't keep talking about the same topics and what the updates are with these topics on a daily basis. What we are trying to do is give you some information so that you can learn and, access your breadth of knowledge. So if there's a topic that we are not covering, that we have covered in the past, make sure to keep following it up, right? You can watch this news on your own too. You can read about these things on your own too. What I'm doing is I'm putting the spark and it catches fire with your help. Cool? Okay. Let's go. Next news. Yeah, so this was the Vice article that I talked about, where they said, China said it was actually an error, but now they're making it compulsory. Awesome. Let's move on. Okay, so I told you we're going from a story, right? Now let's go a little bit into space. So how do we go from space? So we talked about US diplomats. Where do diplomats stay? Okay, that might not have been the best connection, but okay. Diplomats and all like to stay in hotels. Now, one interesting news that I heard about is the world's first luxury space hotel called the Voyager Station. And it's set to open in the year 2027. And as you can see there, that is the hotel or the prototype of how the hotel will look like. And it's very interesting, this whole project. So if you can think about it, when you actually, if you go through the news, if I was going through the research for the news and I saw tons and tons of articles on space. One was Elon Musk's Starship landing and then getting exploded. Then there was news about how the Perseverance is actually creating a lot of waste in Mars. A lot of this news. So space has actually hit the commonplace. There's also news about Starlink, right? You guys might have heard about Starlink opening the pre-stages for if you want to book Starlink access internet within India. So all of these things are coming. And this was an interesting news for me. And that is the world's first space hotel. Let me give you a little bit of context. So here, there's this company called the Orbital Assembly Corporation, OAC, and they are the ones who are responsible for this. It can accommodate around 400 people. And this hotel is going to have all kinds of things like themed restaurants, movie theaters, lounges, concert venues, bars, libraries, gyms, all of that in space. So you might be thinking, hey, Elson, so if we are going into space, will we be like floating within these hotels? Well, no. So this company, they've said that one of the most important things, if you are actually going to be a spacefaring species and if you're going to be living in outer space, is the concept of gravity, right? We can't keep floating there. That's not something that we are used to. And so they've come up with this concept of artificial gravity. So within the hotel itself, there are going to be areas where the gravity is going to be varying depending on the rotation and all of that. So within the hotel, you'll have different areas with different gravity. And so they're creating this thing called artificial gravity. It's going to have all kinds of cool things. And one of the things that this company is doing right now, they're inviting private investors to put a stake in this company, to buy a stake in this company for as little as, $0.25. That's like 1/4 per share. And for the entire assembly of this hotel, you're going to need at least 44 different Starship launches. It's going to have around 24 habitation models. So I mentioned 400 people can stay at a time. And each of these modules, the habitation modules, will be around 20 meters long and 12 meters wide. So 20 meters long and 12 meters wide. Cool? All right. So that is our first news regarding space. And if you notice the thumbnail, there's another thing, right? One really cool phenomenon that scientists and people, space enthusiasts, they're seeing is this concept of a space hurricane. Next slide, please. Awesome. So as you can see there, that is a space hurricane. That's a first of a kind, a one of a kind thing. Not a one of a kind, but a first time that we are actually seeing this. So as you all probably have heard of hurricanes, right? Hurricanes, those whirling winds, clouds and rains just keep whirling around, causing a lot of destruction. But most of these hurricanes, they happen within the earth, well below the atmosphere, right? We have seen hurricanes from space, okay, that are well below the atmosphere. And you have also seen this happening in different planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, etc. We've seen hurricanes. But for the first time, we're seeing a hurricane in the ionosphere, right? In the upper layer or the upper levels of the atmosphere. So the ionosphere is the layer or the transition between, say, the Earth's atmosphere and space. And what scientists have seen is that there's a phenomenon that looks exactly like a hurricane. But what's one difference between this hurricane and the normal hurricanes where there's a lot of rain and clouds is that here, this rain is not composed of water, or the clouds are not composed of rain. Instead, it's composed of plasma. And you can see electrons that are flying. So that it's very similar to like an aurora borealis, that kind of the bioluminescence. You can see that sort of colored pattern. Super exciting, and we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of these. This space hurricane, it lasted for around 8 hours, and it was around 1,000 kilometers from the atmosphere into space. And after 8 hours, it went down. And the center of this hurricane, as you all probably know, you might have studied in your science classes, what is it called? The eye of the hurricane. And that's supposed to be like the most silent and calm area. So that the same phenomenon is here too. Awesome. Now, where do we go from this story? I remember reading this beautiful quote once, and it spoke about how when astronauts and people went into space, that's when they were able to look at Earth differently. Right? They were able to see the Earth and see, in that article, in that quote, what they spoke about, I got to see Earth's problems much better when I went outside Earth. But there's also that beauty and a lot of the cool things that are happening within the planet itself. And there's this, I remember putting this up on Instagram once, and it hit me when we all entered into this COVID phase, where there's like one half of the population that's exploring the world, and not exploring, I probably shouldn't use the word exploring there, but one part of the world that's, traveling beyond the planet, going across, trying to transcribe boundaries across. But then there's this other part of the world that's going within rooms, right? Which is locking their rooms, going inside. So whereas one is going outside to explore, there's another part of the world that's going inside to explore. And that is our next news. Okay, here's an ad, and I'll explain what this is, right? You guys got a hint. These people are exploring us or the world inside. Can we have that ad play?
Connection is a spark that gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
So this next. Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing.
But I think we should
deepen our understanding. And enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前。
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Let's take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time. I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have 2 planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like any world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the thumb.
A world without boundaries.
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring the
A world where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
Okay, do you guys see that ad? You know, one of the things that happens when we show these ads on our these episodes, we actually get a copyright claim. But one of the reasons I felt is, even though that happens, I actually want you people to watch this ad because it gives you that full experience. Like, I can show you screenshots from that ad or that video clip, that movie. I probably call that a film. I can give you screenshots from that, but then that experience won't be the same experience that I got. So I hope you like that. And that ad is describing the Microsoft Mesh. So Microsoft Ignite is an event that happens every year where tech enthusiasts, they all come in, and Microsoft launches a lot of their initiatives and talks about that. And the Microsoft Ignite happened between 2nd March and 4th March. And the Microsoft Mesh is one of the things that they launched or introduced during this event. The person that came in was Alex Kipman. So I watched the keynote, and it was a beautiful keynote. And he starts the keynote like this. He says, "Hey, do you have a dream?" Okay, and it's the same. I'm going to do it with you guys. So as you're watching this, right, you guys might be founders or entrepreneurs or whatever, or students, and you might have a dream, right? Now, what about your friend there, another person who's watching this video? He also probably has a dream. Right? Both of you have a dream. Hey, I want to create this beautiful startup that's related to this. And another person has a very similar dream. But you guys don't know each other. And then what Alex says is, your dream and the other person's dream and the other person's dream and the other person's dream, when dreams start to collaborate, that's when we form reality. That's so beautiful, right? How does a dream become reality? And I found that it could have been really cool marketing message. Maybe that's what he did. But I found that's a really powerful message to all of you there too. When people collaborate, that's when dreams become reality. And Alex Kipman, he's a technical fellow at Microsoft. He was responsible for the Xbox Kinect, a lot of cool initiatives. He's been working on the HoloLens. If you guys saw that video, the film, you would also have noticed a couple of parts are very interesting. Okay. One part I especially liked where how it's transforming medicine. You know, how you can sit here and telemedicine, right? Teleconsultation with doctors across the world, and you can have that live interaction. In fact, like I remember when I was researching a little bit, couple of years back, HoloLens was actually doing something else in the medical space where, so one of the things as medical practitioners, when we are in college, what we had to do is we have to treat patients, right? And we had to diagnose them. But instead of doing this live on live patients, there was this initiative where HoloLens was involved, and you could pretty much visualize a holographic patient and diagnose that. And that patient would respond to you like a real person. And that's one of the concepts that Alex also spoke about, and that is holoportation. And the way they're able to do this is because of two key things. Okay, one is object anchoring, right? So this is mixed reality, right? Where the surroundings are the same, but you have some form of augmented reality into your universe, into your planet. Alex actually talked about this in a TED talk where he spoke about mixed reality and the future. And object anchoring means basically you have like a 3D model and you anchor that into a real life model, right? A real life table maybe. So object anchoring is one thing. And the second thing is remote rendering. So most of you who probably are in design or coding, etc., you've heard of rendering and how difficult rendering is. But Microsoft has its own cloud platform, right? The Azure cloud platform. And all of this, the Microsoft Mesh, it's all happening on the cloud platform through remote rendering, right? So the speed is much more faster. It's happening real time. And that's a beautiful thing. If you think about it. So during the Microsoft Ignite, they also spoke about Microsoft Teams and how it's transformed and how it's been scaling. Imagine having virtual meetings. In that film, if you have carefully noticed, there's this one part where they talk to this girl called Asia, right? Asia is another girl who in that movie who's part of the meeting. And she's a model, right? She's a virtual model, virtual asset, a digital representation of her real self. There were others who were in different parts of the world who were attending their meeting in their holographic or through holoportation. But then there was also a virtual avatar of her. During this, talking about Avatar, even James Cameron, right? The director, the man who made Avatar, the man who made Titanic, he was part of the Microsoft Mesh keynote. He came in, he spoke about this initiative called OceanX, which is how they are going into deep sea exploration. Another man you might already know about, it's called John Hank, the CEO of Niantic. So Niantic is the company that was beyond Pokemon Go, right? Pokemon Go was probably all of our first foray into the world of augmented reality. So Niantic is partnering with Microsoft. In the end of the keynote, there was this weird cult-like thing where they went into the space called Hanai World. Hanai World, it reminded me a lot like VR chat, where you have these digital avatars and they were all in front of this bonfire singing and dancing. So yeah, it was a very interesting keynote. A lot of cool things came in. You guys should definitely watch it. It's transforming the world that we are living in, right? I started this particular news saying how some people are exploring and crossing boundaries and going to other planets to explore where humanity can take us, whereas others are trying to explore within. They're locking themselves up in rooms and exploring our other potential. Awesome. All right. Final news. Oh yeah, before that. So we all talk about the world news and what's happening, in the rest of the world. But I also wanted to, give a huge round of congratulations to this initiative by the IIT Bombay. So Prakash Javadekar, the Minister of INB, he announced that, we're going to have like this Center of Excellence. It's going to be a partnership with IITB and MIB. And they both are going to be partnering and opening up the Center of Excellence where they're going to discuss about game development, VFX and animation, right? Yesterday, I remember attending the Game Dev Pro League and I was like, this is so cool. A lot of the things that are happening. Avalon himself, like Varun, Avalon and the Game Dev Pro League, the people that are doing that, they're doing crazy stuff. So yesterday's session was a little bit about coding and all of that. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. So we probably, what you could call as visionaries to some extent, where we were able to predict this. But it's really cool that India is also coming into the space. We're opening up the Center of Excellence. It's hitting mainstream. And one of the reasons they're doing this is because they feel, so Prakash Javadekar, the minister, he said one thing that, some games tend to be very violent. But so we are trying to promote Indian heritage. A couple of games are talking about Indian heritage and culture. The ones that came into the news recently were the Razi and also Fauji. So Fauji got a little bit of criticism for some reason. But yeah, Raji did well, got a lot of world acclaim too. But he wants more and more, the quality of the games to improve and Indian heritage, Indian culture to be promoted through these games. So really excited to see the future of game dev, the future of mixed reality, what's going to happen. We'll find out. All right, let's go to the final news. Okay, what do we see here? On the top left, I see colored coins. Then I see something called CryptoPunks. I can see a little funny, some avatars. On the top right, I see the Pepe meme, right? Pepe, and he says, feels good, man. Bottom left, I see a dragon, right? That's the crypto kitty called Dragon. And on the bottom right, I see Logan Paul, a collectible card for Logan Paul. Okay. Remember at the start of, during the pre-intro, I spoke about this book and what's the difference between these two books. Okay, guys, we're at the final section of today's news and we're going to be talking about NFTs. So NFTs, what are NFTs? Twitter has been going on and on about NFTs. YouTube's going on and on about NFTs. There's creators going on about it. Gary Vee on one side, Logan Paul. A lot of people are getting into it. And they're like, what are NFTs? You should buy NFTs. You should. If you don't know about NFTs, you're missing out. So today I'm going to be explaining, I'm going to take you down a little bit about what the history of NFTs are. What exactly are NFTs? What's the full form of NFTs? Nowadays, when I ask someone what's an NFT, they're like non-fungible token. Well, what does that actually mean? Do you guys know what fungibility is? Okay, so let's start. So we're going to start with the basics, right? Non-fungible token. Fungibility is it's a concept in economics, which means this thing can be interchanged. What does that mean? Say you have 10 rupees in your hand, okay? The 10 Gandhian rupee on your hand, Indian rupee, and say your friend has 10 rupees in his hand, okay? So, or maybe not rupees, how about books? I have one copy of Negotiate Like an Avalonian, I have another copy. And I'm not promoting this book, I'm just using this book because there's a reason I'm showing this book, okay? There's one copy, one other copy. Are these two interchangeable, right? are those 10 rupees interchangeable? If you go to a grocery store, you can exchange that 10 rupee, you can give it to your friend. The same thing, right? The 10 rupees is the same. But there is a difference, right? If you open this book, right, on the bottom right, I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera, there's an autograph, right? There's a signature and a nice message by the author of the book. Suddenly, this book is a lot different from this book. This book has become a collectible, right? There's something in it. There's a story in this book. This book, in fact, was the first signed copy of this book. So does that add value? Are you guys understanding? Suddenly, now what happened is, I can't give these books the same value. They might be same on paper. They might look the same. Everything might be the same. But because it has an additional feature on it, its value is different. So what happened is this book is no longer fungible with the other one. It's not interchangeable with the other one. And that is the concept of fungibility and non-fungibility, which is going to be important in NFTs. Cool? So there's this person, and it all came in with the story of, say, the blockchain, right? We all heard of Bitcoin. Early 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the article. He wrote about this peer-to-peer interaction transaction that can happen, decentralized network. But for a long time, no one really spoke about this. In 2012, there's this man called Yoni Essaya. He came in and he wrote this article and he wrote, hey, I understand that we have Bitcoin, but what if we colored some of that Bitcoin, right? What if we made, say, two Bitcoins are the same thing? Yeah, they're all the same. But what if one of the Bitcoin was purple in color? What if one was golden in color? And he introduced this concept. He wrote this paper, he wrote this article, and he introduced the concept of colored coins. He said, what if we had this Genesis transaction, a new transaction, which differentiated this new colored Bitcoin from the old Bitcoin? Very similar to this. A Genesis transaction is very similar to an autograph on a book, which suddenly changed the value of the Bitcoin. Okay. And then what happened? A lot of people started creating platforms, marketplaces called Counterparty. A very famous marketplace where you could exchange digital assets, right? They started exchanging these digital assets. That was Counterparty. But one of the things that they realized is that Bitcoin is not the best, right? So this concept of NFTs is applicable to any form of blockchain where you have smart contracts, right? But Bitcoin, they felt, is not the best. Instead, Ethereum is a lot better suited for something like this. They launched Counterparty. Then later on, some form of art came into the picture. And in fact, CryptoPunk is actually the first, you could probably call it the first form of what do you call it? NFTs, or the art form NFTs. Then we had the one on the right. I spoke about Pepe Meme, right? So Pepe Meme, the Pepe Meme is very famous. Then they had different forms of Pepe Meme. Pepe Meme dressed up as Donald Trump or some other famous personality, maybe as Bart Simpson. And all of these were different forms of Pepe Meme. All of these were different forms of an NFT. Later on, once they realized, hey, Ethereum is actually a better system that we can use. So initially they were using the Ethereum token standard. It's called ERC. And the one that they were using was ERC20. But ERC20 is the standard model that we use for everything. But the problem with that is that it does not help with attributing this unique characteristic. And I'm just giving you some terms so that you can research on it. So then they transferred from ERC20 to ERC721. And now they're also using ERC1155. You can just take these down. You can read about it, how ERC721 is the main thing that is being used for NFTs. So we spoke about, where are we? We spoke about colored coins. We spoke about ERC721, 1155, ERC20, how that is not helping too much with the unique and it's more for the fungible tokens. We spoke about Pepe Meme. Now, what is that one below that? So that is the CryptoKitty. So CryptoKitty was like this game where people were actually selling or interchanging these or selling. Yeah, they were selling these in this marketplace, these crypto kitties, right? And these are like art forms, digital assets. And they were selling it, and that crypto kitty, that's called the crypto kitty dragon, and that was the most expensive. It sold for millions and millions of dollars. Talking about millions and millions of dollars, the one on the right, you won't believe it, that's Logan Paul's card. That's an anime version of Logan Paul, and each one of those cards was being sold for around $2,500, and people were literally buying it, right? And you might think, hey Elson, what is this? I still don't get it, right? Does this actually have any value? I mean, I can still rub my head around what Bitcoin is, Ethereum is. A lot of people are talking about it, but what is this, right? What is the difference between this? This design, what I've screenshotted here, is that the same as the original design? No, it's not. And I'll explain this with the last bit, where, so, you know, Justin Kan, who is the head of Twitch, he spoke about, and he's selling some of his old videos of Twitch as an NFT. And I'll tell you what that means. So he's selling autographed clips of it. And this is extremely important. Why? To creators. I'll explain how this NFT is different from, say, a book like this. Okay? Now this is the last bit. Pay attention. How is an NFT different from a book like this? So one differentiating feature that you can do when you're creating this NFT is that you can give a percentage share to the creator into perpetuity. What do I mean? Okay, so Varun Maya gave me this book, and he put a signature on it, right? Now, I'm a little evil. I'm like, okay, Varun's like super famous and he's so popular. Why not me put this up on eBay, right? I remember putting this up on Instagram. A lot of people were like, hey, I want that book. I want that book. Now I can be smart, right? Suddenly the demand supply has gone up, and I can be like, well, I'll just sell this off for, 10 times the price of what the book is. Maybe someone will buy it. But here the problem is, I'm just a middleman here, right? I'm just the lucky guy who got the signature. What about Varun? Does he get something from this? Is he able to get something from this? No, he doesn't even know what's happening, right? This book could have gone to anybody else. It could have exchanged hands. But with NFTs, there's something different. The creator can actually take a percentage cut. So with every time, say, a book or any of these tokens get resold, he gets a percentage cut, which is super, super cool. And so a lot of people are, some people are confused about the whole idea of NFTs, and if these things that are actually being sold, these graphic designs and screenshots and etc. actually have some value. But then the whole creators are excited about it because it gives a way for creators to interact with their audience, with their communities, right? It's that shared belongingness. Both the creator and the community can benefit from this NFTs. So a lot of creators, a lot of people, they're extremely bullish on NFTs. If you guys, I hope by the end of this, you guys understood a little bit. I remember reading this or listening to this talk on Clubhouse where someone was like, I thought NFTs stood for non-fundable tokens. Please don't say that. After watching today's news, I hope you understand it's fungible, right? Non-fungible tokens. I hope you understood what fungible tokens are. What are some real life examples, right? The difference between a 10 rupee note and say an ancestral 10 rupee note. Remember demonetization? A lot of us, I'm pretty sure at the end of demonetization, a lot of us kept at least one of those old 500 rupee notes. Why did we keep it? For some memory, right? People are doing numismatics, right? Collecting coins and currency. Why are they doing it? Because there's some extra value beyond that 5-10 rupees. What about philately? People who collect stamps, right? So that is the collectible aspect. So you understood what are NFTs? How is that different? How is it different? What can you give me some real life examples? Yes, you learned a little bit about the history, how we build up, say from 2012 and the transition, we went from memes and all of that to today what it is, how it's being sold for insane amount. Logan Paul made around 5 million selling NFTs. Now we also learn how this has huge implications for the creators, right? And why people are excited about it. Awesome. That's about it, guys. I hope. Okay, one last thing. If you guys want to know, and this is just one stat to see if you guys are excited about, and that. So one of the things I learned is that since the past 3 years, NFTs the overall value or how much was being traded or people were buying it was around $174 million US. That was the overall transactions that were happening with NFTs for 3 years. And in the past 2 weeks, so much hype has been there that in just 2 weeks, $45.2 million US have been exchanged. A lot of companies are getting into it. If you guys checked out Avalon Voice, you might have heard something written about NFTs. You guys know what Avacoins are. A lot of that is a lot of cool things happening. Social audio. I hope you guys heard about the Avalon Voices app. Hope you guys have enrolled for the beta. Super cool things happening. Thank you for showing up for today's episode. If you don't like it, if you didn't like today's episode, if you felt that you didn't learn anything, if you felt all of this past 20-25 minutes was useless, then what do? Don't do anything. Just cut the video and leave. But if you felt that this video was good, if you learned something, if you felt that, okay, this guy took little effort, he helped me learn something new, this is not the like button. Just go click that like button, write a nice comment, write a nice sweet comment and be like, and click on this Ganta, subscribe, whatever on top of the video. And, do me a favor because this helps me too. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for showing up. I hope you liked today's episode. Over and out.